Coming up in this Brightline construction update. This update looks at the newly cut over section of double track between CP Gifford and CP Oslo. This section of track is through downtown Vero Beach, covering about 7 miles. With its completion, there are just 24 miles of double track left to put into service on the project. Starting here, just south of the CP Gifford crossovers at 32nd Street. This was a unique cutover, as it had to be completed in stages over several weeks, as 3 crossings in downtown Vero Beach had to be rebuilt at the same time, as well as completing work on the existing main canal bridge. This meant taking one of the main lines out of service at different times. Right now, you are seeing these 3 crossings just before they began rebuilding, with sections of the new Western Main Line track built in between them. I'll show some of the rebuilding process at the end of this video. From 21st Street south, the second main line was fully constructed. Due to the limited space to complete all this work, materials were spread along the right-of-way. South of 19th Place is the Vero Beach house track. Here are the new intermediate signals after they have been activated just north of 16th Street. The old intermediate signal at 12th Street will be removed, which you can see crews preparing to do in this shot on a different visit. Indian River County had special requirements for the sidewalks, which is why you see the funky pathways and gates around the standard pedestrian gates. More new intermediate signals are north of 4th Street. The piles of white aggregate you see near most crossings are dress rock. Once the new signal and crossing equipment is tested and good to go, it is spread around the foundations of the different equipment and houses. About a mile south of Oslo Road is the CP Oslo crossover, which doesn't have any public access. With the completion of this cutover, all the new double track is now activated south of CP Winter Beach. Now back downtown at a later date, and here crews are removing the track across the main canal bridge so that approach slabs can be installed. Approach slabs are on each end of the bridge and help manage the settlement that often occurs when transitioning from regular land to the bridge structure. A lane of US 1 was closed during the day due to how close the work was occurring to the roadway for the safety of workers and drivers. Through 26th, 14th, and 23rd Streets, crews were beginning to demolish the old main line now that the new Western Main Line is in service. These crossings closed about a week earlier so the new second main line could be installed. In addition to the crossing panels, some of the existing track needed to be removed in certain sections because the new design called for the track to be undercut or lowered through here. This has the added benefit of removing some of the hump over the crossings for vehicles as well. Now shifting to the air a little more than a week later after the old track was removed, undercutting completed, and new track constructed. At this point, new ballast has not been dumped yet. This is the 26th Street crossing. The Western Main Line already has its new Omni panels installed. The Eastern Main Lines will be installed once the crossing panel is surfaced. The Eastern Main Line was lowered almost all the way to the main canal bridge in the distance. It was lowered by almost a foot in certain sections. This regulator and tamper were parked on the 14th Street crossing, with entirely new track constructed between 26th Street and 14th. It transitions back to existing track until near 23rd Street, where more track was removed, extending most of the way to 21st Street in the distance. Due to the forces of vehicles crossing over, the Florida East Coast Railway standard is for crossing panels to be made out of wood ties, since they can flex with the pounding, while concrete ties would just break. This therefore extends the life of crossings and minimizes the number of times the crossing needs to be closed for rebuilding. Depending on the amount of traffic, this could range from as often as every 5 to 7 years to over a decade. Once the track work is wrapped up and all of the Omni panels are in place, crossing crews will shift to working on the new asphalt and curbs. As of the publishing of this video, all 3 of these crossings have been reopened, and both tracks are in service. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like button and subscribe. Also check out my social media pages.